You are live. Hello. Good morning. Good morning. Merry Christmas. Liz, since you're here, can you see us on YouTube?
Is that a yes?
Uh, this is a new technology for me. All right. We're 34 seconds in. Um,
Can she see us?
I don't know. She hasn't said anything. Can you see the comments? I think there's a way you can see the comments as well.
No, I don't know. But I'm seeing that somebody says live. Um, where would that be? Exit full screen?
Oh, hi, Patricia. Patricia, are we live? Is everything good on YouTube? Hola.
Everyone can see and hear you, it says.
Oh, good. Okay. So
So I
let's
don't
begin.
know if that
Merry
means
Christmas, everyone. Hello, Patricia. Oh, good, good, good. She said yes.
that.
Hi, Liz. Hi, Patricia. Hi, everybody. This is Jeffrey. This is Ripe Color. And this is our Christmas special, Meet the Goddess. I love that. And this is a lovely, lovely subscriber, member, Susan. And Susan is running a course, Meet the Goddess, which is going to be a year-long course. Am I correct? Hi, Ariel. And Susan, why don't you just take it?
Okay, I'll take it. So my name's Susan Brochin, and I've been working with the goddess on and off, mostly on in the last year or so, or 3 years, and pretty much since about the mid 1990s. And
Mhm.
uh, it's a path that's very unpredictable, and I have no say in it. It's all about what wants to happen and letting go of just expectations and what I think something is or isn't when they arrive. And that'll make sense in a little bit. So I started in a women's group in the mid 90s. And it wasn't exactly about the goddess, but it was all about the connection between all of us and what we were seeking. And underneath it all was the idea of the divine feminine. And
Mhm.
during that same time, I started to get really interested in going to different workshops. And I lived near San Francisco, and I would go and I would drive on this highway 280. And one day I heard a message, and it was really loud, and it said, "Go to the Rosicrucian Museum," which I wasn't really familiar with.
Oh, I know about Rosicrucianism.
Where I'm going? Okay. So I didn't know who was talking to me. I called our leader and I said, "What am I supposed to do? I don't even know what this is." And she said, "There's something there for you."
Mhm.
So I'm driving away. I don't even remember if I had GPS then, but I might have had a map, and I found the Rosicrucian Museum. I parked, I walked in, and it was an Egyptian museum. Well, I've always loved ancient cultures. I've been to Egypt and Israel and lots of places, and I started looking, and I saw a statue. Oh, that's nice. That's not it. That's nice. That's not it. So I went up to the front desk, and in front of me was a very large picture of the goddess who I know now as Nui, and her body was feet, body, extended head over the Nile River.
Mhm.
Okay. And maybe it was Nephthys. I get them confused,
Yeah,
but
yeah, no, I think that's, yeah.
it might be Nephthys.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
Goddess of the sky, right?
Right. And they started talking. Oh, so I was directed to a movie in the planetarium. And I went over there. I sat down. The movie started playing, and they started talking about Isis and the flooding of the Nile. And it
Mhm.
takes place on July 19th.
Mhm.
That's my birthday.
Uh-huh.
I burst into tears. It's like, who is this? What is this? I don't know what this is. I went back inside, and for the first time ever, I had heard the music of Lorena McKennitt, and I don't know if you know her or not, but she's an amazing Canadian singer that sings a lot about the goddess path. So I
Mhm.
was
What's
gifted
her name? What's her name?
Lorena. Is there a? I could chat. I could type it
Yeah,
in.
yeah, yeah.
Lorena McKennitt. Right. So she's from Canada, and she's been singing about various goddesses for years. And
Mhm.
I just knew when I got back in my car that this was why I was sent there. And I didn't really know much more than that, but I knew that Isis was a part of it.
Mhm.
So you know the idea of, following the breadcrumbs, right? So I
Right,
went to my local bookstore. This is back in 1995 when spiritual bookstores were not exactly omnipresent like they are
right,
now, right?
right,
But they did have a statue of Isis, which I bought. They did have all the Lorena McKennitt CDs, so we started immersing in it, and that was the beginning.
right.
And since then, it just kept getting bigger and bigger, and I would have times when I didn't do it, but then there were times when I knew that she was there, and I knew I was being led to.
Right, right, right.
So
It's interesting you should say that because sometimes, and actually, especially now, this past week, the all the all the readings for the collective and really almost for every individual sign has been this energy of I don't know why I'm going this way, but this is the way I'm going.
yeah,
This almost doesn't make sense to me. I don't know what's happening to me. There's a lot of that energy going on right now. It's like I'm being led, I'm being called, like I'm moving to a city I've never been to before. I'm applying for a job that I have no skills in. I'm going out with somebody who I have nothing in common with. It's a little bit like that, and it's like I feel like we're all sort of being led and called in this mysterious um, uh, beckoning.
right.
It's really, really, really interesting.
And you know that I just got this song in my head. You know the song "Do You Believe in Magic"? You remember
Yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, I keep thinking about that because that's what ISIS is all about. It's just believing in. Oh, okay, here's another one. And what you necessarily don't believe in because
Right,
you've gotten some kind of hint that it's real.
right.
And I was also reading Wayne Dyer at about that time, and he had one of his first books is "You'll See It When You Believe It,"
Uh-huh.
rather than "You'll Believe It When You See It,"
Right,
right?
right.
And it was the beginning of my experience with synchronicity and
Yeah,
understanding where am I led, where am I going, what am I doing, and so on.
yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting you should say seeing is believing and believing is seeing because sometimes seeing, it's we have five senses, right?
Mhm.
So sometimes my believing is not necessarily seeing it physically. Sometimes it could be this. Sometimes it could be like I smell it in
Right,
the air in a way, or I feel it.
right.
So sometimes seeing is believing is hearing is believing, or smelling is believing, or intuiting.
Yeah,
Just
talking
made that word up.
right. You're talking about the clairs, the clairvoyant, clairaudient, and all that stuff. And so that's how I got through the 90s, and things
Mhm.
started to shift. I ended um, a marriage in 1994, and then I kind of went on a journey for like the next like 10 years,
Mhm.
just learning about shamanism and about all kinds of stuff. But the goddess was always in the background, right?
Right,
Not in the foreground where she is now.
right, right. It's okay. So tell us about your course.
Oh, okay. You want to know how it got started?
That's a good question.
Cool. Now I okay, so this was another magical thing that happened.
And hello, Andrea. Hello, Seascape. Hello, Ariel.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Lauren, Melissa,
This is great.
all
Yeah.
my regulars.
awesome. Okay. So in, I think it was February or so, I realized I needed to have a hip replacement.
Mhm.
And I started making arrangements for all of that. But at the same time, I was consistently going in the Akashic records. And I
Mhm.
discovered a portal there that's called the Divine Feminine Collective. And I was
Wow.
just going there, hanging out. I didn't know what it was, right? So
Wow.
one day,
That's that alone is like
really cool, right? I I heard the word somewhere, and then I Googled it, and it was a thing. It was real. I was like, "What?" So I went in for verification, and I was, when you're in the Akashic records, all the clairs that we were just talking about, the inner knowing and the hearing and all that, they kick in and you get messages. So I was told, I don't know who it was, but they said, "We want you to write a class." I went, "Well, okay."
Yeah,
And it's like, I didn't even ask who we was. And I
right.
said, "What kind of class?" And they said, "We want people to know more about us."
Wow.
And from that point, since I was an a teacher for 34 years, I know how to write curriculum.
Right,
It's like second nature. So
right.
I just went, "Okay, so we're
That's
gonna
why you
learn."
were chosen.
Probably, yeah.
Well, that's part of it.
Yeah.
Right.
So I just started with my pendulum, right? And I had made a list of the various ones that I wanted to work with. And then
Mhm.
I also I don't even know how I got all this information, but it's going to be 12 months, once a month, devoted to that goddess, and then using different at home practices as well,
Beautiful.
and working in the records so that students can actually have one on ones or group with the goddess after I open everybody's records.
Right. Wow.
Because that's my uniqueness. It's like there's a lot of things about the goddess out there,
Right,
websites, books, you name it, it's there. But
right,
nobody's doing a combination. And I figure, well, if I know how to do this, let's just try it out.
right. So we had a little short conversation last night,
Okay.
and it's almost as if, so this is my metaphor. I love my metaphors.
Yeah,
So
go for
it's
it.
like you're invited to a party with all these goddesses. It's a little
Right?
bit like that. You're invited. Tell me if I'm on the right
No,
track.
you're on. Keep
You're
going.
invited to a party with all these goddesses, and
Uh-huh.
wear something cute because they're goddesses.
Scarf.
And yes, a scarf, a handmade, bright color scarf.
Yeah.
I think Venus is going to wear something see through because you know how she is.
All right.
Uh, and then you're at the party, and then you meet this goddess and that goddess, and then there's one that's really interesting to you. It's like, I really like this one. I think we can go to lunch together. I really like this one because she has something to teach me. I really like this one because she's really loving, or I really like this one because she's really strong.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And so that's, it's like I'm being called to Athena, I'm being called to Venus, I'm being called to
Right.
etc.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah,
that part
yeah.
was actually relatively easy because I have a priestess name, which is Rhiannon. And of course, I love
Like that song.
the song.
Right.
And she's very cool. And my teacher gave me that name. And I never quite got what it meant and how it applied to me. But I did, then you go do research. So Rhiannon's one of them. But I also realized that I taught sixth grade ancient history, right?
Wow.
Ancient Greece, gods and goddesses, hello,
Uh,
right? So of course Athena's there.
yeah.
Aphrodite kind of came up, but she and I just don't jive with her very much. But I put her in, and there's a
Mhm.
little side story to that. But then I was a yoga teacher for 20 years, and
Mhm.
I was involved in a lot of those teachings
Right.
and kirtan and chanting and all that. And I've worked with Lakshmi and Saraswati. So
Mhm.
they came into the picture. And then I realized clearly that I really wanted to have goddesses who were from the East, Far East. And
Mhm.
that's where Kuan Yin came in,
Mhm.
and Green Tara, and
Mhm.
um, Oh, and then, of course, Egypt. Isis
Hmm.
is the main goddess for me, and Hathor came in through that. And
Hmm.
there's a lot more that I could have done, but I wanted the variety of cultures and the variety of domains,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So Athena is there as well. And so it just turned into this thing. And when when I started thinking about Aphrodite, it's like, I don't want to do this. So this is, you want to hear a little side story? It's really kind of cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. So I get out from surgery. I'm sleeping at the other side of the house where my cats dwell. And I let my husband have, nights where he could sleep all the way through. And about 3 o'clock in the morning, I got woken up. And it's like, what is this? It was like 3:15 in the morning. This is Hygeia. And I said, I've heard of you, but I don't know much about you. She says, I want to be part of your class.
Okay.
And I was like, sure, I'm going to fire Aphrodite because that because that feels right. And Hygeia specifically said to me, you never have had physical body issues. And there are many people who might find this class who would be getting some information about how to work with the physical body, and I can do that for you. So she's a Greek goddess. Do you know
What's
Hygeia?
her name? Can you spell her name for us?
I'll type it out. It's
Okay.
like the word hygiene comes from it.
Right.
And her father was Asclepius, who was,
Oh, the healer.
yes. And they both have, snakes
Snakes.
around them.
Right.
And she just started telling me what she wanted the world to know. There's almost no information about her. So I had to intuit a lot of it. And I had to, just kind of look and see about the relationships between her and other people. So there's,
Wow.
so,
Fascinating.
so they came. And
And so Aphrodite's out of the picture.
yeah, for now. Yeah, well, so is Kali because I'm not quite ready for her.
Right. Right.
Right?
Right. So it's and what about the like for me, I feel like I need to because I'm living in Mexico now. Eventually, I think I need to bring some of the ancient Mesoamerican culture forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's a lot there. There's a lot there. Oh,
Oh, yeah.
I do want to throw in something else that's interesting is I wanted to do one of the Marys, right? And Mary Magdalene, there's just too many different stories around her. And
Right.
so I thought I'll just keep that to myself. But Mother Mary came forward.
Oh, yeah.
And I spent, well, the background I'm from is like, we don't talk about those people.
Right.
So I had to get over that, but it was
Mhm.
easy once that happened. I spent a whole month with her,
Yeah.
more than any of them.
Yeah.
And there's tons of books and ideas, and I was doing it with her not as the definition that most people have of her, like the mother of Jesus, but more about her compassion and her sightings and
Queen of
her,
Heaven.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting that you should say that because Guadalupe is really like an incarnation in a way of Mother Mary.
Hmm.
She's like a hybrid of the fertile goddess, the goddess of fertility for the Aztecs, and Mother Mary. That's basically what she is.
Wow.
And what's been happening, it's sort of like you're talking about being called, and I think on a certain level, like we're talking about the beckoning and being called, and I'm looking for what I wrote, but I don't know where it is. It's in the other book. So that when I did that Lady of Guadalupe video, and I've been called to Guadalupe for a very long time, many, many. So the first day I came to Mexico City ever, I went to the Basilica. That was what I wanted to do. I walked. Very interesting. It was like a pilgrimage. It was like 3 hours. And that's what in that moment, I kind of fell in love with Mexico City because I was so fascinated. It's such a fascinating place. It really is.
Yeah.
There's so much going on so many levels.
Mhm.
It's really opulent and it's really decrepit and it's
Mhm.
really, really, really alive, which I really, really like. It's very vibrant. It's the most vibrant place I've ever been. And I feel like, she called me in. She really called me in.
Mhm.
And I started to tell this story with Guadalupe. And I'm not saying this to, say, look what a good person I am.
Oh, no.
I made a scarf
Yeah.
and it was pink. And
Mm.
for me, Mother Mary is like this very pale, soft pink, right? And
Mhm.
roses is one of her symbols, one of the symbols of
Yes.
Guadalupe, one of the symbols of Venus, blah, 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 blah. And I went to the basilica, and it was like there was somebody who was like really working it with the kid. It's like, oh, I'm so poor and I need the money. But she was really like, there was an angle to her that was like, you're working this, honey. Because there's I don't know, you get an inclination. It's like you really need help, I don't know. And I went to the original basilica, which was like this, right? And the kid is like sliding on the marble because it's like that's what kids do. And the mother was really upset. I was like going for the kid. And then I saw this older woman with
Mm.
her husband, and she was infirm, like she really had problems physically. And the husband and her are walking to go to the basilica, and it's a very wide plaza, very wide, very big. And they're walking and walking. And I went to the place with this thing, and then I went to the other place. I did a lot real quick because I'm a New Yorker. And she's still walking there.
Yeah.
And I was like, what came to me, it's like, it's not about worshiping Guadalupe. It's about being Guadalupe.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I gave her the scarf.
Oh.
I gave her the scarf. And it was like,
Mm.
it was just, I could cry telling you the story because it was like, I felt like I was her. It was like, this is for your devotion. Thank you for your devotion. It was so, because yes, I did it, Sheila. I've never done StreamYard before. Whatever. Yes, I did it, Sheila. Welcome.
It's like Mazel Tov.
Um, yeah, no, I'm grateful. And I was like, well, the goddess will come through, the goddess of technology. What's her name?
I don't know.
So, I mean, for me, that's what it's about. It's for me, it's really about getting in touch with these goddess and God energies and living up to the ideal of who they are.
Yes.
Taking on the aspects of the Godhead I always say Godhead. For me, Godhead encompasses God, goddesses, and from all and every culture. So that's what it was about for me.
That's wonderful. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. Um, one of the things that I've noticed just recently is there are a few of them
This
that
is a really good question. I don't know how to show.
okay, so all right, here we go. Can you please talk about the virgin aspect of Mother Mary? I always thought the virgin said, but okay. Um, a lot of the books that I read dealt not with the Catholic version of Mother Mary, but with who she really probably was. So whether or not we believe in the Virgin, it could also be a metaphor, for who she is, rather than the actual for who she
Mhm,
is.
mhm.
And um, I was telling Jeffrey before we started that um, this is sort of related, that the background that I've come from, which is Ashkenazi Jew, and yeah, third generation. My grandma, my grandma used to. This is sort of an aside, but she was kind of goofy and funny, and my uncle was a gynecologist, and he and all of his friends always had to work on Christmas. So my grandmother would start making Christmas dinners for them. And I was like, Grandma, why are you doing Christmas? That's not our holiday. She goes, it's everybody's holiday. That's an aside. Okay. But the other piece of it is that I really did not want to study the Catholic Mary because a lot of it is people's interpretations, and also the opposite is people's interpretations. So it's really, what is it that you connect to? And
Right.
for me, um, because I'm actually married to a man that loves Mother Mary. Now,
Hmm.
he's not a Catholic. He's part of the Yogananda
Hmm.
lineage, and went to Israel. And it was a Mother Mary Jesus pilgrimage. He said, "Do you want to go?" I said, "I can't go. If you're not going to Yad Vashem, I can't go." The point is that that's still a part of who I am. Your belief system, your spiritual DNA, your lineage, your ancestors all make up how you interpret things and what direction do you want to go in
Right.
terms of understanding XYZ. Okay.
Yeah.
So I picked novels, I picked books that compare Mother Mary with Kuan Yin, and
Hmm.
there's also an ISIS connection. There's one book that has all three of them. That they're, and I don't know if I'm answering your question or not. It might be long winded, but I hope there's something that you can garner from this. But there's the aspect of unconditional love.
Hmm.
There's the aspect of availability, that you call on me, just like the Carole King song, and I'll be there,
Right.
right? You know,
Right.
um, and that you could be any denomination, any religion, anything, and connect with those three in a very, very easy way and
Hmm.
feel their strong presence.
Yeah. My understanding of what being a virgin is pure of heart,
Yes.
pure of heart.
Yes.
That's the real, because we get all caught up with sexuality.
Right.
Oh, are you pure? And
Yeah.
pure is really it's about this. It's, pure of mind, pure of heart, pure of spirit. It's
Yes.
not about, because, we live in a dual world. So
Hmm.
it's like, I could be pure of heart, but still be angry. I could be pure of heart and still be uh, impatient.
Hmm.
Believe me, I'm all those things. You have to hit me on the right day.
Well, thanks for clarifying that, because sometimes I get off on, some of the stories, but it's all sort of like a big tapestry, when you're
Hmm.
involved with this. And this is like, this is what you're sitting with for a month or two, and
Hmm.
reading all the books, and
Hmm.
yeah. So,
Okay, so okay, wait. I have to. I have so many pads and pencils, and I never know where I write what. Um, growth plants. Oh, what's going on? This is something else. Um, oh, sorry.
no worries.
I wrote it. So tell it. So, how did you pick the goddesses?
Oh, okay. Well, I start to say that I used a pendulum, and I started with the ones I knew, because I didn't have time to start at the very beginning, because I wanted to start the classes in January, right?
Right,
So if I started from nothing and I started to research someone I've never heard anything about, it would take me a lot longer.
right.
I started with the Greek ones, and then the Hindu ones that
Hmm.
are there, Lakshmi and Saraswati.
Hmm.
The Greek ones are Artemis and Athena. I've always had a really strong admiration for the badass Artemis. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah. And Artemis is fascinating.
she's
Yeah.
amazing. She's amazing. And then I went
So
to,
Artemis is Diana, by the way.
yes,
Right,
yes. Artemis is the Greek name. Diana is the Roman name.
right. And Athena and Minerva.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. I always go to the Greek for some reason. Not sure why, but maybe because they were first. And then I knew that I wanted to do a goddess from Africa. And I had two choices, and I ended up picking Yemaya.
Hmm.
And, you know, another part of it is I really like music and
Hmm.
chanting. And there's a couple of great Yemaya songs. And then she's fascinating, because she went from Africa to Haiti
Right.
and got the mixture of those.
She made her way to the Americas.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I forgot Lakshmi is one of the Hindu goddesses too. She's amazing.
Yeah, and Yamaya also figures into Santeria. And
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. Once you get involved in this study, and which I'd recommend for anybody interested in the divine feminine, not to do exactly what I did, but just like find one and learn about her,
mm-hmm.
feel any resonance. It's an
Mm-hmm.
amazing experience.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can call her in and, have conversations and do rituals and
Mm-hmm.
make crystal grids. It just goes on forever. What you can
Yeah, and I think that this is just this is what I'm getting. It's like, so the one, I think the one or the two or the five or whatever that you're called to are the ones.
Yeah.
It's so it's almost like they beckon you.
Yes.
It's almost like they beckon you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely. Definitely.
It's sort of like Susan and I spoke for like, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes last night, and we both have the opinion. It's like, oh, I'm fascinated with excuse me, ancient Japan. You're
mhm.
probably there.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated with medieval France. You were probably there.
Yes.
I'm fascinated with Peru. You were probably there.
Yeah. And that's what starts the breadcrumbs.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, for one of them, Lakshmi, about 7 or 8 years ago, I had a teacher that did a 1 month immersion in chanting to Lakshmi.
Mm-hmm.
And, and it was all about abundance. It was my last year of teaching.
Mm-hmm.
And 1 month before I retired, I got a $200 raise for the rest of my life, which added to my pension for the rest of my life.
Wow.
During that month after chanting to Lakshmi.
Right. So, it's interesting because I had a little altar in my old apartment in New York, and I had I kind of had everybody there.
Yeah.
I had Chiron, I had Athena, I had Neptune, I had Lakshmi, I had Buddha, I had Guadalupe. Who else did I had so many. And then there's a lot. There are a lot of Indians in New York, so there's a lot of stores with Hindu stuff.
Right.
And I remember getting a Lakshmi, and there were quite a few Indian stores that I would go to because there are a lot of little Indian enclaves in New York. And somebody behind the register at one of them said, "You need Saraswati with Lakshmi together."
Really?
He said, she's abundance, and the other one is wisdom.
Huh.
And they work together.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I got a little. You know how they have those golden pictures?
Yeah. Yeah.
I got a Saraswati as well.
Yeah. I think of her more with music, dance, writing, creativity. She's like amazing for that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah. So that's how it all happened. And where I'm at now is I'm, doing little videos to show people, who they were, it's sort of like, what do you do? When you're reading a novel in high school and you get what's the name of the little book that does the summaries?
Oh, I don't know.
It's called
Something notes.
Cliff Notes, right? So,
Yeah, but there was a certain brand.
Yeah, Cliff.
Cliff Notes, right. That's what it was. I knew it was a name.
And there were a lot of my friends that just read the Cliff Notes and not the book, and it's like, you're missing the best part. You're missing the language. You're missing the drama, whatever. But that's up to them. But anyway, the little videos I'm doing right now about each of them are kind of Cliff Notesy, right? Just so that people understand. Ascension energy. Seems like ascension energy shift is returning to planet.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree.
Absolutely.
Completely. So, okay, so since you're here and
Yes.
I'm here
Yes.
and all of you are here, thank you all for being here. Do you have questions for Susan about her course, um, about her course,
Do you want to
about a specific goddess, maybe?
you know what you could do is, are you going to put the link somewhere? I
You
can
know, the link is actually, I believe the link is in the description already. So,
hey,
your name, Susan Bronkin,
now it's okay. Bro like brother and chin
right?
like chin. Brochin.
Oh, Brochin. Okay.
Yeah.
Susan Brochin. Susan Brochin. Dot net. Dot dot com.
SusanBrochin.com.
.com. And I also put a link to your email if people have like, like, I really love the goddess, but I'm embarrassed to say so on StreamYard.
Okay.
Okay. So this is another question. How has working with the goddess affected your life? Mm.
Oh, wow. Well,
Mm.
that's a really good one. Slowly but surely it became my life. Let's put it that way.
Mhm.
And it made me take on some of the attributes of some of the goddesses that I really didn't have, like the badassery of Athena or
She is.
Rhiannon. Kali too, but she's a little more extreme because, um, every time I take out my Kali statue, I have to put it back in the window because it's like, I don't like the cutting off of the head stuff.
Mm.
But anyway, I've taken on some of those. I have daily practices where I use crystals and affirmations and chanting, and it just makes things okay.
Mhm.
It also allows me to detach from any concerns that I have about
Mhm.
the outward world, which
Mhm.
frequently, you know,
Mhm.
plague
Mhm.
many of us, and wanting to know what's going to happen, how's this going to turn out, and it's sort of like it doesn't. My job is to stay within, this protective box. Not that I don't care; I care a lot. That's the problem, but it's allowed me just to release, surrender. Because I go in the records, I get messages from them that are very real about how to, what do I do about XYZ. So
Right.
it's
Right.
all of the above.
It's interesting you should say that because there's exercises I've done, and I'll probably do a video on this. It's like sometimes we have a situation or a problem or a worry or etc. that is so overwhelming. And it's like,
Mhm.
I tried this, I tried that. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Am I doing the right thing? Am I not doing the right thing? And sometimes I feel, or there's something about us that we feel is somehow, I don't know, lacking or imperfect or a burden, say.
Yeah.
So all of those things, there are certain exercises you can do, and it's like you offer it. You make it as an offering to the god, to the goddess, to the godhead, to the angels, right? It's
Hmm.
like, here I am, and you offer that to them, and they receive it, and then they give you something else in return.
Absolutely.
And it's a really powerful exercise, and I like to think of it like this. This is a good metaphor.
Mm.
You know how when a little kid makes it like a thing you put on the refrigerator, right?
Magnet.
It's like this and it's like that, and then so think of the god or the goddess, right, as the parent,
Yeah.
right, or the grandparent, even better, the grandparent. And then the kid comes and they go, look what I made for you. And it's like, oh, is it a flower? It's like, no, it's a fire truck. And and they say, I made this for you. And even if it's really weird, and even if it's like kind of like crumpled and kind of torn, the fact that they made it for you is so sweet, and it just opens your heart up. And I
Yeah,
feel like that's how they receive it
right.
from us. We come and it's like, look at this really weird drawing I made. And then they're like, oh, thank you so much. And then what they do is they give you cookies or dates or an ice cream sundae or whatever it is. That,
Mhm.
I think, and that's the gift back. Like that's how I feel about it when I come and I say, I don't really know what to do with this. I don't really know what to do with this. And I'm giving it to you to
Oh,
transform it.
yeah, yeah. I wanted to add something into that.
Yeah.
Some of us have guides that we have really great relationships with, and a lot of the readers that I watch on YouTube, my guide said this, my guide said that. I've never really felt guides, but I definitely feel the goddess. Okay, so that's that one piece, or ascended masters, or angels and archangels. I do have a couple that I work with, but the resonance is for me is nowhere near the same as it is when I invoke a goddess and bring her in and ask her for answers.
Mm-hmm.
And you know,
I want to put this one up.
okay.
Hang on.
Oh yeah. Control
Well,
which
listen, I think that this is also, this is a conversation for all of us.
yes,
So
absolutely.
everybody in the chat as well, because
Yes.
we've all sort of been there,
Yes, definitely.
or more than sort of.
Repeating patterns make us go back to that something,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So, in terms of which goddess would I recommend, I would think of a goddess that had a very wide job, a big job, like Mother Mary
Mm-hmm.
or um, or Isis
Mm-hmm.
and Kuan Yin. That's the triad and you can even bring in all three of them at the same time. Like, let's say you are invoking them and you are doing, I'd like to connect today with the goddess Kuan Yin,
Mm-hmm.
Mother Mary, and Isis. And I'd like to bring you together to give me advice about XYZ. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, do a nice quiet meditation to get into the headspace where you're letting go of the left brain thoughts and, the mind that keeps spinning, right? So, it's actually related to going in the Akashic records, but you could do this just by prayer, right?
Right.
And
Right.
sometimes we're in the records without even knowing that we're in the records. Okay.
Right.
The Saturn return, um, it's a challenge, definitely, but remembering that this too shall pass also
Mm-hmm.
helps. And I would also suggest the same three. You definitely want comfort, compassion, and love during these times, and
Mm-hmm.
reassurance. And I think in Isis's case, she's also more pragmatic than let's say Kuan Yin is, but you'll get information sort of like between the three of them as a triad. That's
Yeah, it's interesting because when I talk about Isis a lot because for me, Isis is the high priestess,
yeah.
and I always, for me, she's so. I love the whole story, right?
Oh, with
Um,
Osiris.
Osiris is all chopped up, right?
Oh
La la
yeah,
la la,
you,
and she
yeah,
she she finds all his pieces except for his member, right?
that's right.
And so what she does is she makes one, she sits on it and gives birth. It's like so whenever like the high priestess card comes up, it's always like because the weird thing about the high priestess card, it's a two and it's choice, but it's
Hmm.
also the high priestess card is really out of the whole deck like the card of mystery,
Hmm.
truly, truly, truly the card of mystery,
Right.
because it's at the same time it reveals the light and at the same time it keeps a secret.
Yeah.
Does it at the same time. She's in front of and behind the veil simultaneously.
Hmm.
It's so fascinating. And it depends on the cards around her, whether she's telling you something or whether she's like, I got it, don't you worry. I got it, don't you worry. I'm creating something else. Don't worry.
Very cool. Um,
Yeah.
this is just an aside. Unlike Jeffrey, I'm not a tarot card reader, but I love working with oracle cards, and there is a plethora of
Yes.
cards about the goddess.
Yeah.
Megan Watterson's book, card deck is really good, and let me show you. I've got a couple of these. These are my decks that I'm working with right now from Alana Fairchild. And she's got actually 2 decks on Kuan Yin, which are really, whoops, this one and then this one. This is kind of fun.
Hmm.
And so, I mean, this is not going to be maybe as reassuring or comforting necessarily as talking to the goddess specifically, but sometimes you can use cards, related to the goddess or just general cards um, to give you reassurance.
Right. Well, it's kind of like, I think oracles work. I mean, I don't really use oracles, but I think oracles work by, it's like what's showing up, so you shuffle it and it's like, well, who's showing up? It's sort of like walking. So the other day, um, I saw a lizard. I saw a lizard, which is unusual. You see doves, you see squirrels, I saw a lizard. And so I had to look up the symbolism, and it's like, this is what this is about today. And it's kind of like these little messages from the universe.
Exactly.
Or sometimes you'll see a flower that is like kind of unusual, right? Or like maybe it's in bloom in a different time of year or a weird color that you never see it in. And then it's like, look up the symbolism of the flower. And that's
Absolutely.
because for me, I feel like, I mean, I know that the more I pay attention, the more I'm open. The omens come in every different which way.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's like a t-shirt that somebody's wearing
Mhm.
that has a saying, and it's like, oh, thank you for the reminder.
Right. I'll
Right.
give you one that's classic. When I was just getting on my path, I was discovering the whole thing about synchronicity. And I was in my car driving to work, and I saw this sign that this on a license plate. Don't believe everything you think. I was
Mm,
like, oh my goodness,
mm,
changed everything,
mhm,
right?
mhm.
And signs are all over the place.
Yeah, yeah. I was walking in here in Mexico. I don't know, about a month or two ago, no more than that. And I'm walking down the street, and I'm like, I think I'm going the right way. I'm not really sure. Am I supposed to be going this way, or am I supposed to be on the other side of the street? And I'm walking, and I'm like, I think it's this way. I'm going to keep on walking. And there's this wooden door, not an old cool one, just a really kind of crappy wooden door. It was painted black, and stenciled on it says, "You are home."
Yeah.
I even put it on my Instagram, and I was like, "Thank
Oh,
you,
oh,
thank you."
action.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, I believe that the divine talks to us in a million trillion ways all day long.
That's right. Yep.
Look at this.
Mm.
That's wonderful, Ariel.
If you ask her, the goddess will lead you to a practice that will empower you to let go. Just ask and what? Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hmm.
This is okay. This is an interesting question.
You have enough. Oh,
I've been drinking so much water. I have to, you
wait,
do the question. I will be back.
I got
Maybe there'll be a spider in the bathroom. Woo!
a dream decades ago, and I am ever on the lookout for more lore. Okay, this is not one that I've had any experience with. Associated with the 13th moon zodiac sign. Do you mind typing in what zodiac sign she might be associated with? And maybe I could get some kind of hint about that. Um, Usually I go to the internet when I see something that I don't know anything about, and that starts the research project. So the 13th moon, would that be the 13th full moon of the year, an extra one? I'm not really sure. So what do you think about this?
Well, I overheard a little bit. So the number 13 is really, really powerful.
Okay.
So in the calendars here in Mesoamerica, they have three different calendars. There's a 260-day calendar, which
Okay.
is 13 times 20.
Wow.
And there's a 360-day calendar. They all have different meanings, and they all have different, like one is a holy calendar, one is like a mundane calendar. And then, it's fascinating the way it works. But what I do know is that spiders, they weave webs.
Weave a web.
They,
Is it
they
arach?
weave webs. They tell stories. They create worlds. They
Yeah.
they have tremendous determination and patience. And I would say, start doing some research and see where it leads you, because I think that's where it's really about.
I just had a little hit. And I think there's a goddess named after the spider, Arachne. Does that sound familiar to you?
Somebody just said so.
Oh, cool.
Ayenta just said so. And Ariel has a really interesting comment. Here, I'm going to put it up. Give me a second. Now
Cool.
you're going fast, kids.
She's in the Greek mythology.
Oh, in Greek mythology as well, really?
Yeah. Arachne, pagan goddess. Arachne. Here we are.
Arachnia, right?
Well, thank you for reading. This is my first wiki, blah, blah, blah. Arachne's story was the daughter of a tradesman who spent his days dyeing cloth the deepest shades of purple.
A dyer?
Yeah, hello. Arachne had the amazing talent of taking the smallest and finest threads, weaving them into flowing fabric, and creating them into stunning works of art. People would come to watch her weaving her threads into her loom as if threads sprung directly from her fingers. Okay, so then they say Arachne would often boast about her skills to, oh, I remember this story now from when I was teaching. She bragged in front of Athena, and Athena did not like it.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
Don't play with Athena.
Yeah. So here it is. She caught the wind of Arachne's boasting, and she taught her a lesson, and she turned her into a spider. Hello. But as far as the goddess goes, she conjured clouds from above and slender threads of grass from below with a spectacle strength. She did have tapestry showing the gods abusing their power, so she was getting back at Athena. She turned her into a spider, yep. In another form of the story, Athena admires Arachne's skills, but she finds her lack of awareness disturbing. Interesting. So I'm sure there's more on this, but.
This is a wonderful comment. I really like this one.
Oh, okay. It's all about Spider-Woman, which I know absolutely nothing about. But I'd love to know.
When I read that second sentence or the third sentence, I can't say it.
Wampanoag?
Wampanoag, thank you.
Yeah.
Medicine man told me it was the internet. I was like, click, click, click. Yes, 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 yes.
Okay.
Because it is the web of healing around the world. I mean, the internet is both, it's both, right? It spreads crazy stuff, but it also spreads love and information. And, because when I think about it, right? So when we used to watch those things on PBS, like the nature documentaries, they were good, but now, like on YouTube alone, the nature document, you are an ant inside the thing. It's like, oh, or you are the coral. It's like, oh my God. And they give so much information and the colors and the depth of it. It's like, wow. And like, I like to watch things on ancient civilizations. I like to watch things on geology. I like to watch things on geography. Sometimes I watch college lectures. It's
Yeah, I
like,
know. It's so
this
fun.
is incredible.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really incredible.
The whole thing, I mean, I use the internet as my starting point so that I could get, okay, what's the main idea? What do I want to convey? And that's always the first part of the packet.
Hmm.
And then we go into more esoteric practices, like
Hmm.
talking to the goddess, reading
Yeah,
about the channeling and so on. So
yeah,
Gaia
yeah, yeah.
is
For me,
invaluable.
it's become about what I was talking about earlier was like just giving it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm really perplexed about this. I'm really unsure.
That.
I'm really upset
Mm-hmm.
or etc. And it's like,
Yeah.
here,
Yeah.
please hold this for me. You know, it's sort of like when you're a little kid and you have a toy, right? And
Hmm.
you play with your toy, but then you're going to the amusement park, like let's say your stuffed animal or something, you give it to mommy to hold because you know she's going to take care of it,
Right.
right? And mommy will, put it in her pocketbook. That's how old I am. Mommy will put it in her pocketbook and take care of it. Don't worry.
So, yeah. So I mean, like, it's a form of consolation,
Hmm.
form of worship. It's a form
Hmm.
of devotion.
Hmm.
And then, you can add different elements to whatever one wants to do with that particular goddess and make
Yeah,
it real. There's tons of books, by the way,
absolutely.
uh, now within the last 4 years. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to ask you one more question because we're coming on the hour.
All right.
Okay, so can you, I don't want you to play favorites, but what's your favorite?
Well, I have a few, um, only because I've worked closely with them. Um, I love Isis because she came to me and she started it all. And I really feel strongly about that. And so she's kind of a badass too. And I really like Artemis a lot. And I like Lakshmi because sometimes it's just nice to know that abundance and love and sitting on a lotus flower is just enough and wearing pretty colors.
Mhm. Well, India.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's it's all good, and I think it's a deep dive no matter what one does, or it's really up to you how much you want to get into it and learn.
Hmm. Well, it's interesting that you should talk. This is my understanding. I don't know if I'm actually on the money.
Okay.
So, my understanding is that Hinduism really understands that there's one God, but that there are aspects of the divine, and then the specific person will call in the aspect that they want to or need to call in, right? So,
Absolutely.
like at this moment in my life, I have Lakshmi and Ganesha and Krishna.
Mhm. Yes,
In 5 years, it might be Saraswati and Vishnu and Kali,
I think that's absolutely right on point.
right?
Mhm.
So I think that that's a really wonderful aspect you know, of a pantheon.
Mhm.
Um, because I'm sure that's probably the way it worked in ancient Greece. I'm sure that's the way it worked in ancient Egypt. It's
Mhm.
probably the way it worked in Mesoamerica and Africa. Because at different moments in our lives, we're different people. It's like right now, I need the angel of abundance, or I need the angel of clarity, or the goddess of right.
Yeah,
Right. And then, even if I'm not particularly utilizing a specific energy goddess at a specific time, I have that experience. It's sort of like, you have a toolbox. I know how to use the hammer. And when I need the hammer, I'll use the hammer. But right now, I'm learning how to use a saw.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. and they all have domains. They have animals they're associated with. They have crystals, and you can make it as alive as you want it to be during whenever it is that you're asking for help
Mhm.
or communicating.
Oh, I'm so glad. So, now before we go, does anyone have, excuse me, I have water here, it's like, why am I suffering? Does anyone have a question about Andrea's course, about, I don't know. I guess that's a yes. Listen, I wanted to say to everybody, when does it start?
Oh, okay. So on my website, okay, and first class, January 24th on Kuan Yin.
Okay, are you seeing this in the typing? Because I'm not.
Oh, really? Okay. All right. Well, I'll just say it.
No, no, no. Tell me, and I'll put it in. Whatever.
So the website has the schedule. It also has the link to sign up, and if you want to join the class and pay for it whenever, there's a direct link to that. Um, the first class is January 24th. I varied the days of the week because of people's unusual schedules. There is a discount for the year long if you take them all. It's a six.
Okay, I just put in um, your name.com,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
First class starts.
January 24th. And they're all recorded, and I also do a packet for every single one of them that gets mailed out to everybody.
Beautiful. All right. Well, I listen. I'm really surprised that so many people showed up. Actually,
Thanks.
because I thought, oh, Christmas, people are going to be busy. They're going to be carving that turkey, yelling at the kids, whatever. Um, but I'm really grateful that all of you showed up. I'm really
Yeah,
grateful for all your love and support and comments and donations and everything.
same.
And I'm planning on having more conversations like this, and more people who are either offering classes, have information, do some sort of spiritually angled something. But uh, people who work with music, people who work with healing, people who work with maybe yoga, et cetera, et cetera. So if any of you have suggestions for me as to people I could interview, please send it to me on my email, which is, or if any of you are involved in any of this sort of work or healing or spiritual information, thank you, Seascape. God bless you. Um, please say, oh, I want to be a guest, Jeffrey. And then I'll finally get to see what you look like. All right. So Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. May the goddess be with you. May the goddesses be with you. May the gods be with you. May the angels be with you. And is there anything you want to say before we go, Susan?
I'm just thrilled to be here, and I thank you for inviting me, and I thank everybody that showed up, and may all your holiday dreams come true.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Mm.
Blessings, blessings. Okay, I'm going to end the broadcast. I don't know if this cuts us off, Susan, but we'll see.
I think